Got a warrant?
Who are you, huh? Who are you and what do you know about this RV?
Well, I'm the owner of this lot, which means you're trespassing on private property. As far as the RV goes, it seems to me it's locked, which means you're trying to break and enter. So I say again, you got a warrant?
Well, I don't need one if I've got probable cause, counselor.
Probable cause usually relates to vehicles, is my understanding. Traffic stops and whatnot.
These round rubber things, they're wheels. This is a vehicle.
This is a domicile, a residence, and thus protected by the Fourth Amendment from unlawful search and seizure.
Look, buddy, why don't you just go out?
Did you see us drive in here? How do you know it runs? Did you actually witness any wrongdoing? It seems to me you're just out here fishing. Don't see that holding up in a court of law.
This is my own private domicile and I will not be harassed, bitch!
Ahoy, tent pirates, plant parents, conscious consumers, and the morbidly curious. Welcome to Cultivation Conversation, a podcast for growers, by growers. Come chat with our hosts, Captain Autoflower, the Real Green Monster, and myself, Girl Go Grow. Grab a bouquet of your favorite flowers, apparatus of choice, and don't forget the fire while I tell you about the special companies that help keep this ship afloat. We are busy people, and we demand the best for our plants, so all three of us automate our grows with Autopots. Available in over 63 countries, gravity-powered Autopot systems rely on no pumps, no timers, and no power to operate. This plant-driven automated watering is so precise, it will reduce consumption of feed while increasing yield. An effective and efficient way to delegate a little responsibility. Let your plants feed themselves. Use code CC10 at autopot-usa.com. If quality is the name of your game, look no further than AC Infinity. AC Infinity's grow tents, lights, accessories, and ventilation systems offer reliability and affordability along with total environmental control. Use code CULTIVATION on acinfinity.com to save even more. Frass Valley produces the highest quality superworm frass. Naturally strengthen your plants and enhance their resistance to pests and disease. Use code CC10 at frassvalley.com. We are big fans of Mass Hydroponics. Whether you're a local in Massachusetts or accessing their full online catalog, they are your one-stop shop for all of your growing needs. Use code CC10 at mass-hydro.com.
What is going on, everybody out there in podcast land? Howdy.
Hello, my darlings.
Happy Wednesday. Which, side note, I think we may switch back to the old Tuesday night, just for all you live watchers and listeners out there. Just a heads up. But yeah, welcome back, everyone. I don't know why I'm taking care of show business on the show, but what is going on? We are podcast for growers, by growers. I'm Captain Autoflower.
Wow, you're like formal tonight. Introductions and everything. Ladies and gentlemen,
we have a couple
Captain
new
Autoflower.
We've been getting some new watchers.
So, we have been, huh? Hello, everybody. I am
Hi.
your father.
Well,
God, I hope not.
we like to keep it casual, guys. We like to keep it casual and have fun. Talk about growing when we can. But first, what are we smoking on tonight?
I'll go first. I got that prayer glue going.
Oh yeah, is that the GG4? And it's got
Yeah.
to have GG4, right?
Yep. It's GG4 crossed with Prayer Tower Sativa by Mass Medical Strains.
Mm.
Sounds good.
It's like a, I don't know, almost creamy, like fuel, a bit of funk. Definitely get that glue note. Um, I enjoy it a lot. It's a wonderful combination of GG4. It mellows it down a little bit, gives it that sativa effect, so you're not kind of, you know,
Yeah, GG4
dumbfounded.
had a couch locky effect for me, for sure.
Yeah, it kind of makes you dumb too. I think the combination of this with the Veritao Sativa definitely it's a home run, man.
Hell yeah, it sounds awesome.
What about you?
I got some Diesel Frost. I mentioned it on I think the last show. I've been digging this one a lot. It's the Slurricane crossed with Sour Diesel
That does sound
combo.
really good.
It is.
I'd grow that.
Yeah,
I
it has.
did that.
I guarantee you would. Yeah, it's got really dense. Like I'd call them golf ball type nugs. Real stinky. It has a fruitiness to it. A certain subtle fruitiness that like my other sours and skunks like just don't have. You know what I mean? Like I'm not admittedly like I'm not the biggest fan of fruity stuff, but like when combined with gassy and skunky or funky in some way, like man, fruity can really be nice.
Yeah, if it's
Just
done
that
right.
little note,
Mm-hmm.
or like maybe a candy. It could be a candy note. I don't know how people distinguish that.
here, little boy. Want some candy?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, it's delicious. The breeder of this one was Exclusive Genetics, New York, NY.
Okay.
Lovely.
Yeah, what you got, G3?
I have either some purple Pandoronia from Alebrije, or I think this is the last bit of Mango Sunset that Frost Farmer sent me. Thank you again, sir. Very appreciated. So
Wait, what did he send you?
yeah, this is that Mango Sunset that I've been
Oh, yeah. And that's from Frost Farmer,
obsessing
huh?
over. Yeah. So,
You got
All
something
right.
from
thank
our
you to him.
listeners other than dick pics. It's fucking awesome.
It was a good day. It was a good day. Yeah, he sent me a whole smorgasbord of lovely things, so I really appreciate it.
That's awesome. Yo, I've been taking note of some of his postings, some of his work he's got going on.
He's very talented.
Yeah, looks like he's doing a good job out there making some seeds, some really nice looking crosses. So, hats off to you, sir.
Hi, laddie.
Very talented. So, yeah, I guess we'll see. I had Purple Pandoronia before this. I like her. She used to make me super contemplative, but now she makes me kind of chatty. So I like her for shows. She wasn't good for shows before, but now she is.
That's funny.
Just goes
how-
to show you that they can change and cure.
Well, it stands to reason that if the smells can shift over that duration of time and the flavors can change, then like isn't that signaling just a shift in the cannabinoids? And that's
You think so?
that's just
so.
like an effect of that. I mean, perhaps, right?
Yep, very, very true. So,
So yeah, cure. Good
like
a
her.
good couple weeks. Like I feel like they're at their peak, like 6 weeks in the cure.
I would agree.
For me.
I would definitely agree.
A little more
That
than a
I think
month,
is when
but-
it's like the most true to their highest potential. Like that's what you're looking for out of that plant. After that point, I feel like they kind of start to shift a little bit.
yeah, and sometimes for the worse.
Right.
Like
they kind of
they'll-
shift away from what you're expecting, at least. Because it
I
doesn't,
think that's
it starts smelling different than the way it smelled when she grew.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like you come to like expect a certain profile from it because you've been smoking it that time, and then like one day when that's just not there anymore,
Oh,
you're like,
yeah.
oh,
Or
oh,
it's like
man.
a slightly different, and you're like, wow, I haven't noticed that note in there before. Especially if you haven't visited her in a while.
Yeah.
You've
Well,
changed, babe. You've changed.
it's not you. It's
The way you
me.
make it sound is like she's a lady of the night. You haven't seen her in a while.
What beautiful ladies.
It's
Pop
when
on in.
when you come creeping back to her, after all those nights out with those other girls. You're like, oh my God, you smell like someone else has been here. I don't know.
At 2 a.m., where you at?
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
Well, it's a funny thing. Yeah, I don't know. That's why they're best fresh. You kind of try to go through them quickly, or as we've advised, put them in long-term storage.
Hmm.
Whether that's with like a vacuum seal or just a Grove bag.
Grove bags.
Yeah.
Yep. You can do long-term storage in like your jars. They have those vacuum sealer attachments for mason jars. So you could
Oh, yeah.
theoretically vacuum seal all your buds in their jars.
This is true.
Like you're making like canned peaches or something like that. Gotta boil
I'm
it
not
before
talking
you
like-
put it on the shelf.
You don't need to like water bath your flour.
There's some people that do
they
that.
like little attachments. Hook onto your food
What?
saver.
Have you heard of that? Water curing?
No.
No? Let's talk
Yeah.
about that. Tell me about water curing, please.
So you literally take your buds and you soak them in water. And there are people that do this for a couple of reasons. One, it strips all the terps and the smell away from the herb, and that's desirable to some people because they want to be stealth. And it does make it rather smooth. I've tried some water cured herb before. It's not my thing. I wouldn't really.
I mean, what I
recommend
guess,
it.
like if you're like transporting it into like Macon, Georgia, or something, like somewhere where it's basically like still you're a felon,
Yeah,
get
I
called
guess.
any
I mean,
amount. It's just I don't see why you would want to do that, but
neither do I, man. But there are some people that do it. It's a thing. You can look it up. Called water curing your cannabis.
You just
and
dump
you
your
like
flour in water.
keep
Yeah.
it in water
Do
or
you have
just
to
dump
agitate
it?
No,
it?
I couldn't give you the whole specifics because I've never done it and never really looked into it enough. I never cared enough to look into it.
All right,
No,
I'm gonna
Basically,
look
you
over
just
research
soak your
this.
buds in flour. When you soak your flour in water for X amount of time, and you take it out and let it dry, and by then it's stripped it of
What the fuck?
all its smell.
Interesting.
I don't want to do that.
I
but
mean-
I mean,
No, some people do.
Trichomes are glands that contain oil. They survive water just fine. I've definitely washed buds after having pests before.
yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say I've heard of bud washing,
Mm-hmm. But not water curing.
curing. So like, I mean, maybe we're talking about the same thing. Are we talking about the same thing?
No.
Or just a
No,
different term?
those are
No,
definitely
it's a completely different
two
practice.
things. Like the curing process, but
So you
in
keep
water.
it underwater?
Yeah, for like X amount of days.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I got an open mind, man, but no, I mean, if the intent is to take the terps away, I don't think I'm going to try it.
No, I wouldn't recommend anybody try it unless
No,
it's something you know like you need to smoke in stealth. I don't know.
You know what it reminds me
there are
of is
better
like,
ways.
Yeah,
you said like terpless weed. Like, you know what? That would just basically be beasters. Remember those?
even those had some flavor, but I mean, yeah,
They looked good, and they were these
Yeah.
big, like plump looking buds with like
you know,
nice
most of
orange
that
hairs.
shit was
but
ready
they-
in less than 50 days.
No shit.
Yeah, that's why it sold. They could have grown it longer, but it looked good enough to go to market in like 45, 50 days.
Wasn't the strain like M39?
Yeah, something like that.
I think it was
like
called
something.
M39, and it makes sense, dude. Because I remember it being like associated with biker gangs back in like in Canada back in those days when it was probably still illegal. And yeah, I mean, being ready in under 50 days and not having any smell to it, like that's desirable traits if you're if you're doing it all
I mean, it
under
was
the
better
radar.
than a lot of the shit that was going around. So I mean, if you got a hold of it every now and then, it wasn't
Uh,
the worst thing in the world.
I
But
mean, I always liked it because it was sometimes it was either that or the brickweed.
yeah,
Kids these days don't even remember.
and I
No
remember I used to
idea.
like conserve it, right? Like I used to. The nugs were so rock hard that you could take like a razor blade and like slice like shivers away, and like pack a bowl of ties to do it.
Oh, you like absolutely needed a grinder with that stuff. You could not like
Unless
you
you're trying
wouldn't
to break
light.
it up with your fingers or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't light.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't light at all. Too dense. Oh, those were the days though.
Were they? Were they
Oh,
though?
yeah. M39 run coming next. You just wait.
Yeah.
Who's got those seeds?
Hopefully nobody. Something we want to fucking go away from the genetic gene pool.
Yeah, I mean, you got the time and the space.
Roll
Definitely
real weed.
go with something better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Up in the garden, I've been having some issues, man. Some serious ass garden issues in my one tent, the big tent, the 5x5.
Tell us more.
Who's in there, first of all?
So, well, who do I intend to be in there, or who is in there currently? That's two big.
Who's having
big
the
different
problems
stories.
in the tent?
So, excuse me. Let me get my breath back.
I mean, I do assume that the problem is with the plants in the tent and not the tent itself.
Yes.
Right.
So, and we are very early on in the process. We are not even germinated. That's how far along we are in the process. I'm getting stymied by the germination. I'm having issues, man, and I think I have thoughts about what's happening.
Are you direct sowing?
Yes. You know, I like went away from that because I was having problems. Okay.
What were your problems before? You used to use
re-experiencing
the
those
paper
problems
towel
now.
method, right?
That
That was your
yeah, like,
previous
that's what I
SOP, and that's you moved
went
away
to
from because
after
what issues did you have?
So yeah, so just to give you a chronology of my seed sowing
Yes.
practices. Like, yes, it was direct sow. Then it was, paper towel with like a DVD case with a weed related movie. Very important. And then I went away from that to the direct sow method just for ease and simplicity's sake. And I thought I could, not have the problems that I had in the past, but I'm re-experiencing those same problems. And I think it all has to do with the living soil and like the reused, perhaps, living soil in that sense. Like, you know what I mean?
Like it's too hot, or there are organisms in there that are attacking the seed? I don't know what you're like.
I think it's there's too much life in the soil and when the seedling is trying to sprout, because like I had this one, okay, the Sage Scout.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was my last bean, but thank God it was not. Okay, I had one more, so fingers crossed. But it came up halfway, had like a little helmet head on. So I do as I tend to do. I spray it a few times, wait a few hours. But man, this helmet head was like hardly cracked seed. Sometimes those real pesky ones. So like it needed help. I tried to get some tweezers out, perform a cesarean section, and it didn't go that well. Like I had like, it was early in the morning, like I must have like, I had like a nervous twitch and I must have like bent her a little too hard. I knew it when it happened. I could like, it's like, ow, ooh, you know what? I'm just going to leave it, maybe I'll come back in an hour or two and she'll bounce back.
I've had
Dearly
ones that I've straight
departed.
up beheaded trying to take the seed off,
Oh,
and
yeah,
they've
man.
made it.
You have to be super gentle.
Yeah.
That's why I always try to spray them first with like a lukewarm water and just let them try to work it off for a few hours.
Mm.
And if
I
I
had
don't,
the
I-
same.
I've attributed the helmet head thing to not planting deep enough, and that's what I think I have it narrowed down to.
And
I have
humidity, I think. If your humidity isn't high enough and you're not deep enough, they're going to come up with a helmet on.
Yeah, but
Or
I've straight
you
up
have
beheaded
a
those
higher
bitches,
chance.
and they've lived. So, it's amazing what the little seedling can do even after you behead the thing.
well, I don't think mine had the chance.
Nah.
But no, so like you are right, and I've I use like a humidity dome to keep lots of humidity in my seedling environment. And I thought I had all the variables right, like not too deep, not too shallow, seed just placed in the soil, like horizontal, ever like so, like you don't put any specific side down, like not like the tapered edge or the pointy edge. Just put it horizontal so it just like can flip up and the seed like the action of rubbing against the soil as it like flips up is what pulls the helmet head off, right?
Yep.
Making fun of my hand gestures. But I don't know, maybe I was too shallow. But in any case, I came back up like 2 hours later. And this seedling was being attacked by like hundreds, perhaps, of these little tiny soil mites. These little, they're like little silver, a beneficial soil mite in most cases for established plants, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not for a weakened seedling, like a vulnerable lamb straying away from the flock. Like you're dead meat at that point. If there's
Dead meat, sucker.
if there's any life around, like you're dead meat, and that's like in a this soil that is alive, and there's all sorts of shit in there. You know what I mean? Sometimes you find like roly-polies and yeah. What are
I'm
they,
sure
those
the
rove
mold
beetles
I'm sure mold and fungus counts are super high.
yeah.
All of that. It's not necessarily as hospitable as we think it is, but then again, is it like very different than the soil that we get in bags? What's the difference? That's just dirt too.
I think that like bagged soil is sterilized, and then
I don't
like
know. You grow with Coast of Maine, Fungus Gnat City.
I think that in a lot of cases that has to do with the way it's stored before it gets to your grow. Before you
Maybe
if
not.
it's sitting out like in a pile at the garden center, like I mean, gnats can penetrate those little holes in the bag and like lay eggs in there. I mean, so and I'm not sure, but like I think it's just a lot cleaner to buy a bag of soil.
Theoretically, yes, but I wonder why.
I don't know.
Like, is that logical? We assume that.
Over the course of like a couple runs, okay? Like I feel like, and I'm not like, I love the living soil thing. Don't get me wrong. And like the soil mites are beneficial when your plants are established. Those are like little critters that like crawl around the top layer, eating eating organic matter and shitting out plant food, basically. Right? They're really cool. So like you want them, but yeah, like they'll attack, man. If given the chance, a little vulnerable seedling, savages.
Yeah,
So
they
how do
see it
you
as a
get
food
rid
source.
of them? How do you get rid of your overgrowth then without killing off the benefits of having living soil? Do you dry it out completely? Do you heat it? Do you?
I don't think I'm going to do
spray
anything
it
like
down?
that, because the thing is, like, when the seeds sprout, they sprout just fine. And, like, you know, maybe my issue is with the helmet head, not the living soil, because, again, like, I fucking tweaked the thing with tweezers. It's like, what are you going to do? Thing it didn't have a chance at all. Like a surgeon with a twitch, you know?
Maybe just more inert medium at the top of your pot.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking that. So, like, my solution to it was to use a couple, like, cocoa soil pucks. You know what I mean? Those little, like, root riot cubes. Plant a couple more seeds in a sterile medium that you can then, like, once the seedling is established and above that dangerous layer of living soil, you can put it in there. So just want to, give people a little bit of a heads up. Like, sometimes, like, living soil can get a little bit too alive for, like, especially for seedlings, for real. Like, it's a thing.
It's an
Oh, I can jive with that, and I think also too, it's just probably a little too hot for a seedling.
Yeah,
in,
maybe
in some
that.
cases. So I think it's a factor of a bunch of different things, really.
It
Not
is,
maybe not planting quite deep enough, maybe just too much activity, a little too hot.
Yeah, shout out to Kevy Boy 420. He says, I didn't put my helmet head deep enough. Or all this deep talking with the helmet head, he says. Yes, it's all sexual innuendos. Don't you know that growing is just one big sexual innuendo? It's funny how that all works. It really is. But, like, I think I need to put a little, like you said, Monster, a little bit more inert stuff at the top. And
this was a good suggestion,
for real, put my
Sean
seeds a little deeper.
At the bottom, says that Rudy bakes a couple of cups in the oven to sterilize it and puts the seed in that.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah. Because that's literally what they would do at a soil plant to, like, sterilize the soil, is just bake it, kill off whatever's in it. It's not a bad idea. Put it out, like, spread it out on a baking sheet. Just don't think it's a tray of brownies when you pull it out.
Me personally, I think it has to do more with the how hot the soil is than the activity in said soil. Because I think if it was a little less hot and it was able to establish itself a little bit more, it should be able to handle all those little microorganisms and fungus and mold and all that jazz. Take it for what it's worth, right? I don't really have a whole lot of experience growing in that type of environment, but just kind of what comes to mind.
No, they're all great suggestions. Like, and, again, living soil is great. We love the life in there, but, like, for maybe a weakened seedling, or one that is just trying to push its way up out of the soil, like, you really do have to be careful with microorganisms around your seedling. Just straight up.
The thing, though, is this is just a recent problem for you, though, isn't it? Have you really changed anything?
Well, no, it was just like I had went away from doing the direct sow method, and maybe the fact that they were, like, already sprouted tap roots and they were, like, 3/4 of the way sprouted when I would plant them in that soil had something to do with their success rate after that. Like, again, I don't know, but, like, getting, well, I got 2 out of 4, which is not great. I thought I had just got 1, but another one just popped its way up. It's funny, they're both the Alabrijes. Maybe it's something to do with, like, breeding in living soil. Don't know. Can pass along, like, traits that the offspring can germinate better in those conditions. Who knows? It's interesting. But yeah, the other tent, I got some 26-day-old autos in auto pots. We love our auto pots.
Oh, yes, we do.
They are just about like, I consider the stretch for autos. Well, let me ask you guys. In your experience, when would you say the stretch is?
When does it start?
Yeah. Yeah, like when, like what weeks?
Usually around week 3.
I'd say a little, well, let me think about that. A little bit later than that. I'd
As
say
I start
around
to
day
see
30, really, into day like 45 is where I'm really seeing them reach.
as soon
I
as I see
agree with
pom-poms.
G3. Yeah, I agree with G3. So like for me, Monster, you're not wrong. Like when you do start to see that like more rapid growth above the soil is week 3, day 21.
That's when they start to take off, and you can like
They
literally
do.
see an inch or more growth every fucking day.
No, well, so for me, man, maybe it's the size pot, maybe could be a number of variables, but like for me, I see that explosive like an inch or two of growth per day from day 28 around 30 or 28 to 42. So we're talking weeks 4 through 6. There's like that 2-week stretch where they just like go insane, right? And they're growing shoots, they're growing leaves, they're growing ladders. And wasn't that a game? Shoots and ladders?
Shoots and ladders, yep.
Like the most
Yeah.
basic board game of all time.
I think they're more basic board games like checkers.
True. Okay, touche.
But yeah, shoots and ladders, that was my jam back in the day.
Yeah, it was decent. Yo, you ever play Candyland?
Hell yeah.
All right. Cool.
I'm man enough to admit I played Candyland. Yep.
Were you always peppermint character?
Couldn't tell you who I was. I
You don't
really
play
remember.
the characters, you play the children walking through Candyland. And you visit with the different characters. Come on, boys.
I guess I don't remember it that
We deeply
well.
offended
All
G3.
I literally played it yesterday.
She's got kids. She's like, hell yeah, I played Candyland.
Yeah.
All right. How about Hungry Hungry Hippos?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Because that wasn't even a board game. That was just mayhem.
Yeah,
It's like
how
smashing
quickly
the
you could
fucking
smash the
thing.
thing.
Like, yeah.
It's like Rock'em
Rock'em
Sock'em
Sock'em.
Robot.
Yeah, there you
Yes.
go.
All right. One more. How about Crossfire?
Never played.
Oh yeah,
Remember
where you
remember the commercial?
Yeah,
I remember the commercial.
Crossfire. I don't know. I can hear it like it was yesterday. Yeah, my sister and
You got a
me,
future in this.
she gets so pissed off. I'd beat her ass every time.
Yeah.
Was that like a much desired Christmas present?
Oh man, Crossfire.
I could
was
see
so
you
fun.
begging your parents for that.
You would it was like you had this little gun and shoot these marbles, these little
Yeah,
silver
the, like,
marbles
little
at,
silver-
the spinny things. Yeah, it was awesome.
Like little ball bearings, basically.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So yeah, let's say the stretch is weeks 4 through 6, 28 through 42. I'm right there, right? So what is your strategy to keep these plants well fed during the phase of their life where they're eating the most, they're growing the most, so they're eating the most, right? Just like a teenager, right? Going to eat you out of house and home, like my mom would say to me.
Yeah, you don't want to jump the gun. Well, I can talk for myself with, like, I grow in organic soil. So, like, that point is when I'm listening to my plants, really watching them. If they start showing that they're hungry, that's when I start top dressing. But not before then, because they won't be hungry before then. It'll just be food that they don't need.
Do you think? Or is it like, I don't know.
I mean, my soil is loaded
Yeah.
for them. And it started with the least amount of nutrients at the top and the most amount of nutrients at the bottom.
Okay.
So by the time
So
they
they're
get down there,
growing into that.
that's when I know, like, okay, let's go.
So you're right. In the layering technique, like we preach, in theory, around day 20, when those roots reach that bottom layer, they have access to all that new hot soil, and they can eat all that calcium, right? Like all those nutrients, everything it wants, it has access to.
Yep. So right, like basically at the beginning, right pre-stretch, I start looking at them more, paying attention. If they're stretching, I know they're gonna get hungry. They start showing me some like yellowing in their bottom leaves. Okay, time to top dress.
So for like us organic people, we can't wait. We can't wait to see deficiencies. By the time you see deficiencies, it's too late.
I wouldn't say deficiencies necessarily. Like, yes, if you're seeing deficiencies, then you gotta move. You gotta do something now. But like, if you start seeing those leaves at the bottom starting to go, they start to age a little bit. Some of your
Yeah.
first leaves are like aging out. At that point, like, okay, those nutrients are gone from them there. At that point, it's like, you should be doing something about this.
Especially when they're well in the shade too, like in the big plant above it is blocking all the light, and like you do tend to get a little bit of die off. I mean, at least I don't know. I don't know if this is a thing that happens in a synthetic situation where you keep like pumping nutrients into those bottom leaves, But
I think leaves have a life cycle.
Eventually
does it,
they
Monster?
die off.
Yeah.
Eventually they die off. Some
Yeah.
of them die off.
Absolutely.
Especially as the
couple
plant
first
gets bigger
ones.
and they stop blocking out more light.
Mhm.
It's all shit you're gonna want
I
to
think
remove
it's
anyway.
more just that like they're not in direct light. The plant knows like not using this one anymore. But yeah, so for me, like I don't wait till I think the plant is hungry. At least like for my organic feeding regimen to start. You know what I mean? Like I start well before that. Like as soon as I turn on the auto pots, which for me is about day like 24. Okay, like when the plant's a little bit wider than the pot. As G3 said, so wise on a previous show, as above, so below, right? So
Right.
picture like the size of the plant above is just kind of like the size of the root structure underneath. So that's just when it's like filled out the pot,
So you're like a week pre-stretch at this point.
Yeah.
Expecting.
Maybe, yeah. I turn on the auto pots like a week ahead of what I consider to be the stretch. Definitely. And in that week, from like 21 to 28, those days, that's when I do a lot of foliar feeding. I do a lot of top dressing with bloom nutrients, specifically like gypsum. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And definitely get some like some of those kelp type products too, because the plant needs you got to provide nitrogen. Don't forget about that, because that's going to keep it green, keep it growing.
Not too much though.
Kelp's not nitrogen, is it? Kelp's just like a plant, like stimulant.
No, there's some NPK in there.
A little bit of NPK.
Yeah, and it kind of depends on which kelp you get, but I don't know. I mean, according to Brandon Russ, you should never use kelp. Bad.
Why is it so bad?
I don't know.
He
says it contains like heavy metals
and stuff, man. It's stuff that like commercial cultivators have to worry.
We don't
about.
even talk about like
In the
if you
state
wanna
of
go to the heavy
California.
metals.
Yeah. It's known.
Look at like
Exactly.
all your like blood meals and things like that. They're loaded with heavy metals. Comparative to kelp, I think it's minuscule.
It's blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so like I mean, I think it's important to start getting that stuff in your medium, to start the process of being converted, like being eaten by those little soil mites and being shit out as plant food, because that process does still have to take place in most cases, right? There has to be some conversion from what it comes out as, like some of the powder that it is, to like usually plants just don't eat the powder. Like the nature has to take place first.
Yeah, it has to get converted into a salt plant to utilize it.
Mm-hmm. It's not like, technically it is the same molecule as a salt, right?
Just a matter of how quickly it's bioavailable. Certain
Mm-hmm.
inputs break down quicker, become more readily bioavailable to the plant.
They do. Now, so one of the essential nutrients for cannabis that I feel gets overlooked in a lot of cases because like it's left out. Let's face it. There's you think of N, you think of P, you think of K. What about the CA?
Fuck that state.
Well, I mean,
No,
element,
just
the
kidding.
element on the
Calcium,
periodic
yeah.
table. Yeah, man. Your
100%.
CA.
The calcium.
The calcium, is for me what like drives a lot of the processes too. Like that's the one that like can give you the most reward while at the same time like the hardest one to get in the correct balance.
It's real easy
feel
to
like it's-
figure out when you have that deficiency, though. I would give that to it. Like,
Yeah.
if she's lacking
it's
in
easy as hell.
calcium,
Yeah.
she screams it at you.
So what is it? What's the telltale sign?
Those lovely rust-colored spots.
That and little interveinal
Mhm.
chlorosis. You can
Mhm.
see like the leaves aren't quite green.
Oh man, those rust-colored spots that they start from the top, right? Because they work their way down.
I feel
because-
like it's more prevalent in autos. I just have to be
Oh,
honest
dude,
with you.
I've
Yeah.
had the ugliest plants that look just got like rust-colored spots everywhere, and you just don't want to take pictures of them anymore. And you're like, just put you in the corner and kind of forget that this happened.
It's real easy to identify, though.
It sure is. But like by the time that happens, it's too late. It is
but
too late.
if
It's
the
easy to
interveinal
fix.
chlorosis is a sign that you'll see first before the brown spots.
I thought the
Like-
interveinal chlorosis was more a sign of magnesium.
No, it's
Me
just
too.
it's calcium and magnesium. They go hand in hand.
Yeah,
Really.
because kind of
They do.
because you can't up one without upping the other because they are antagonistic. Yay.
So what does that mean, G3? Like what is antagonistic? It's just the elements like they work against one another.
they
in
kind
the
of work
plant?
against each other. Yes.
So
if
if
you
you, like-
increase your calcium, it'll decrease your magnesium. So if you increase your calcium, you have to also increase your magnesium.
And
Or
that's
as Mancha says, just increase everything.
Yeah, like
right.
look, I mean, if you have
He's
they
not
make
wrong.
they make good organic all-in-one base nutrients. Just use that. Because I promise you, if you have a deficiency in calcium or something else is coming up along the way. It's just a sign you're not feeding that plant enough, or there's not enough active nutrition in the soil or whatever. So just
could be.
up a little bit of everything. I promise you'll get better results that way. Because instead of you trying to a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, especially in organics,
Oh yeah.
I feel like you could go down a fucking rabbit hole and totally get lost.
You're
Just
100%
feed that
right.
bitch.
And
Just
start, like,
feed her.
Locking up certain things while unlocking
Yeah.
other things. If you just give it a good heavy base nut of something, nice
So-
good dose.
And that's the
In
reason
pH balanced water.
you just brought up every point you guys in the last like 2 sentences you each just said that I like wanted to get into for the rest of the show. For like no lie.
It's foreshadowing.
We've been doing this enough that like we're just on the same wavelength, I'm telling you. So Monster, remind me. What did you say about the nutrients, about the plants?
Use base nuts if you see
Yes.
deficiencies on things. Yep.
Use base nuts because they are blended to be like they're formulated to be in the right ratio.
And
Okay?
that's what it's all about. It's the ratios. Really,
Yes.
it's the most important thing. And that's why when you see people, oh, my buddy at the hydro shop said to get this, or my buddy said to get that. I see people with like repetitive products, or like one that just has this in it and one that just has that, and then you're not getting them at the right ratios. You got all this other shit in your soil, and before you know it, your fucking plants are 2 feet tall, and you've stunted your fucking autoflowers yet again.
Shame on you.
So I like to take a much simpler approach, and I'm not a scientist, right? I'm a salt guy, but it doesn't mean I'm a scientist. If I see a deficiency in my plants, I'm not going to sit there and just go grab a bottle of CalMag or go grab a bottle of this or that. I'm just going to up the whole fucking shebang. Slowly, a little bit more this day, a little bit more that day, and then you should see the problem start to correct itself. And you can do the same thing with organics. You just have to use an organic based newt.
Yes.
Maybe something like, I don't know, Nectar for the Gods or something. I don't know.
So Nectar of the Gods is actually a pretty, I think they do have like a grow and a bloom type stuff, right? But they also have like 32 other bottles that you can get into and like really get down a rabbit hole with that stuff. And it's like, if you know what you're doing, like by all means, play around and like fuck around and find out, okay? But like us organic guys can sometimes get into trouble because we think like, oh, it's like Swedish chef mentality. A little bit of this and a little bit of that, and we'll just like throw it all in, and it's all good because it's,
I measure that shit with my heart, all right?
Can do no wrong. But
that's
like,
how I fuck around with microbes, but like not my newts.
I think sometimes people just like, they hear about a certain thing, they're like, oh, well, I'll just add like more, bat guano, or just add like one specific top dressing, like gypsum, bat guano, like a P or a K, or like just calcium. But like, yeah, I do feel like a nice balanced feeding like goes a long way. And I love those Cold War Organics products. You got your bud bread, your coming of age. They're formulated, powdered organic nutrients, and like,
and then Angel's Touch for your kelp.
Yeah, if you want your seaweed extracts and your plant growth hormones, and you want to get your turbocharged that shit, like that's where that comes in. Absolutely, like and those are what I always go to. You know what I mean? I do still think that a little bit of a calcium specific foliar feeding and magnesium, we can throw that in there too because they go hand in hand. Foliar feed those two when you're right before flower, front load them. That's what I like to think of it. You're front loading your calcium, because after you get the flowering cycle initiated, like you're going to be feeding P's or K's actively. And those are antagonistic with calcium. So like if you feed too much of it, it's not going to uptake the other. So like get the calcium into the plant. You're not going to see, at least for organics, okay? You're not going to see a calcium toxicity. That's like not a thing. I don't think that can really happen.
No, but what it can do is lock out phosphorus.
Yeah, exactly.
If you add too much calcium, you'll fuck up that, and then that just goes back to the whole thing of
it's antagonistic.
Don't fuck around. Just add more base newts, and
correct.
Your good base newt should have enough calcium in it, generally speaking.
Should
most of them do.
Should. Now, you can foliar feed a lot of things. For calcium, I do use a Nectar of the Gods product. It's a Demeter's Destiny. Yep. Just calcium. I think they make it from like eggshells and like oyster shells. And it's like you can do this kind of stuff at home, like in a Jadam type process, and let them sit in like a jar full of apple cider vinegar for a couple months, like and break them down.
You bake them and then soak them in vinegar, I guess. Yeah, I've heard of people doing that shit.
That's, it's kind of the same thing. Like you're solubilizing the calcium. They've done it for you. You can buy it. It's ready to go. It's like plant it's ready to be uptaken by the plant. It's already in that specific form where it's been like converted. So like you can get it in there more actively, and you don't have to wait for that like the nature to take place in order for the plant to eat the calcium. So I do like that kind of stuff. But now, G3, you mentioned another key thing that I wanted to get into, which is pH.
The key to everything. Yes, pH.
I'm not going to disagree with you. Even in living soil, I hear it all the time from people. Like, oh, I get it's buffered.
Yes, it's buffered. It's done. It doesn't work miracles.
Exactly.
You know what? I want people to think of an analogy. Have you ever watched The Price is Right? Have you seen the game Plinko, where they take that little
love
thing
that game.
and it just slowly like matriculates its way down to the bottom, right? I want you to think of your water like that, okay? And even if you're in a living soil, if you throw it just some whack random pH because it's gonna buffer, okay? It's gonna take a lot longer for the plant to be able to utilize that water because it has to said buffer it. Why not just cut to the chase and give it what it wants, that 6.5, 6.7 pH water, right? Instead of like your 7.5, 8.2 tap shit.
It's not going to hurt anything.
No.
Like it, and to rely on the buffering quality of your microbes or your humus or any kind of like what are you like really, if you're so convinced that your plant can buffer any kind of water situation, then feed it pH 12. I dare you to feed it pH 3 water for a week. I fucking dare you. How much buffering can you, I mean, really, it's, if you wouldn't do 3, would you do 5 for
Buffer
a week?
this bitch.
Right? That's show title.
Honestly, if you aren't pHing your water kind of regularly, you're just not being as good a grower as you could be.
Say that one more time.
If you're not pHing your water, you're just not being as good a grower as you could be.
Bingo. For the people in the back, one more fucking time. No, we don't need to. Listen, and I am as lazy as it gets, okay? I don't pH my water every single time it comes out of the tap because I know it's consistently at a certain point. I've tested my water throughout the course of like the growing season over the years. You know what I mean? I can depend on it. Maybe I should just test it every month just for shits and giggles. You know what I mean? Keep the tip of my pH pen wet. Just keep it functioning.
As long as you have a good idea of what you're working with. The tip. If God forbid something happens and goes wonky with your water and you pH it and you find out something's really screwy with it, that stops you from giving it to your plant and maybe stops you from drinking it. Not that that happens regularly, but I'm sure that it does. It's just, it takes a couple of seconds for the number to come up and to make it easy for your plant. An extra step to show you care.
There's also something to be said too about consistency and the plant's ability to adapt. Like I'm a firm believer
within a certain range, though. Like
no, I know, but
plant can't adapt to.
I'm a pretty firm believer. If you threw it, like if you were in a living soil environment, and you threw your fucking plant 8.5 pH water every day, it would eventually adapt and it would probably be all right. Because I've seen people do it.
It would, but you'd stunt the shit out of your autoflower.
It's not ideal. Not ideal. But I think more organic growers than not have the mindset of not worrying about pH. And I'd like to change that.
100%.
I think it's just so easy to do. So easy.
It's not hard. It's really, and listen, like if you're adding anything then to your water, you're changing the pH of it by that very nature. If you're adding any kind of, I mean, usually not like a microbe product. That's pretty pH stable.
Depending. Who knows?
Depends. Like recharge definitely drops the pH. You know, I tested that a few times.
Photo Plus will bring it up a little bit.
Yeah. So
Not much.
Monster, like when you mix a batch of like salt nutrients into your water, like each salt that you add, does that tend to raise the pH or lower?
Lower.
So each salt lowers the
Correct.
pH of the water as you add it. And then like usually at the end of your mixing, you add pH up to get it within range.
Depending on how heavy I'm feeding, usually in grow scenario before bloom, it's pretty right on. I don't really have to add any down or up.
Okay.
But in bloom, in most cases, and it's most cases because it's not all, really just depends on the incoming water, I'm having to add up.
Gotcha.
Do you guys vary your pH within the spectrum that they enjoy? Like I run anywhere from 6.4 to 6.8. Like I
It's usually
know.
going to drift up. At least in my case, it mostly just drifts up. So I start at 5.8, and usually by the time the res is done, it'll float to 6. Sometimes I've seen it 6.1.
Mm-hmm.
For me, a 6.8 is perfect. Even a 7, I wouldn't put any kind of pH down if it were 7. Anything above 7, I don't like to mess with.
So say you are having an issue with calcium, right? And calcium is best absorbed around, I think it's 6.6 to 6.8, at least in soil. I'm not talking about cocoa. I don't know about cocoa. It's lower for cocoa. That's what I know. So
Always lower.
would you, in that case, try to shift the pH of your res up to that level? If it, like, say you're normally running at 6.4, would you try and pull it up in order to help that calcium absorption and uptake?
Yeah, I suppose I would. It's not going to hurt, is it? But like again, I think you're going to be better served, like with a nice foliar spray in that situation. Maybe even like a soil drench. Take the autopot res out of it.
Yeah,
Direct
that's what I generally
direct
do.
feed, that kind of stuff. Like when we're correcting mistakes, we don't go through the reservoir in most cases.
Touching on calcium, though, that's something that's real important, I think, before we overlook it. It's important to get as much calcium into the plant as possible, especially before you flip the flower.
Yeah, dude, and that's my like calcium front loading thing. I mean, like you can't like get enough calcium in it for for real. You can't, and that's why. I mean, I'll put gypsum is that's not calcium. Never mind, not calcium. So for me, it's like I said, that Demeter's Destiny stuff is key. Like that's usually what I'm playing around with because it's in a plant available form already. But if you guys really want to get nuts, like you can make your own calcium supplements, organic stuff. But like, I think again, before we go and just start feeding one nutrient to the plant, we want to stop, take a step back. Do we have a more balanced nutrient that we could use with calcium in it? That's always my first step. But then,
Absolutely.
yeah, if you want to, like, for me, that stuff's not immediately available, so I then top it off with some plant, stuff that is.
And if I'm in veg, I love a good foliar feed with a good, a good product. My favorite straight up foliar feed product is probably Magic Green from House and Garden Nutrients. You spray that shit on your plants. If you had any deficiency at all, it's going to take care of it pretty quickly.
Impressive.
What that's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's got some beneficial bacteria as well that are able to adhere to the plant. Um, yeah, and then a little bit of kelp, a little bit of molasses.
You've
I think in
mentioned
there.
that stuff before. I'm
It's
have to give it a
expensive.
whirl.
It's kind of cost prohibitive for some people, but I mean, you get a bottle like this. It's a small bottle, and it's like $30, but like you only use like a couple of drops in a quart size bottle. It's very potent shit.
Ever since I got my my mini fogger, the Petra Tools mini fogger, like
I love that thing.
foliar spraying is like one of my favorite activities now. I can't foliar spray enough. So like if I got some cool new foliar spray I can mess around with, like sign me up. I love getting them girls wet.
When I'm lazy and I don't want to mix up foliar spray, I'll just take watered down nutrients right from the bucket, right from the reservoir. You only need a real little bit, because when you're foliar feeding, you can burn the shit out of them real quick.
Dilute it.
I might just take like 1/10 nutrients and the rest water, and just foliar feed them.
Now, of course, you were going to want to pH the water that you foliar feed with.
That's a negative, Ghost Rider. I never pH. I've had bad luck trying to pH foliar feeds. I've ended up doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
So
just let it ride. Whatever it is.
Whatever it is, it is. Yep. And you would think I would, but no. When I tried that mindset, like, I don't know whether it's the pH down or up, whatever. The plants just, they never seemed to be happy whenever I did that. So I just went away.
I wonder if it's the type of up that you were using. If it was some type of.
In most cases, it's down, because it's really not a lot of strength of newts to bring the pH down enough.
Gotcha.
So
and that's what an acid, right?
Yep. I usually just go, whatever it is, it is. I don't even test it. Spray it.
Well, interesting little nugget there. But yeah, I mean, guys, pH is, don't overlook this aspect of organic growing. Like soil pH too counts for a lot. Like it can be pretty relatively consistent throughout the course of the grow. Like if you add that like dolomite lime, lowers the pH, keeps it in that like 6.5 range, even as you can tend to raise it with like adding more and more salts to it, but like or any type of nutrient. So
kelp is another thing that will typically bring pH up as well. It's not stable though, so don't try to use it as a pH up. I've learned from experience. I've tried. It will bring your pH up of whatever's in your reservoir, but it doesn't last. It's not very stable.
Yeah. Now, so I use when I'm adjusting pH, like, typically if I do mix up, now I will say for my Cold War Organics nutrients, those don't really fuck with the pH at all. So like it'll stay in that 6-8 range. It's money. It's good to go. Don't put anything in it. If I'm doing anything like from that Nectar for the Gods line, anything like that, you do have to be very specific with pH. What I use for adjusting the pH is not organic. Do I give a fuck? No. I mean, what isn't organic when it comes to
they do make organic based ones, but I promise you they're just not that effective, and they're usually not very stable either, like long term. At least in my experience.
So like the citric acid method doesn't work, dude.
Oh,
doesn't work at all. Doesn't work. Now,
what do you use?
It's I think it's sulfuric acid.
Just straight sulfuric acid.
Well, it's not. It's from like pH Boys, I think is the name of the brand, and it's a strong acid. Maybe it's not sulfuric. I don't know. It's an acid. Let me tell you that much. Like, you got it on my hand once. It hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But the stuff is strong, so you only need like a drop or two. Whereas, like, I remember I was using the general hydroponic stuff for a little bit, like the red and the blue.
Mm-hmm.
I needed a shit ton of it.
How much is a shit ton? Because that's what I have that, and I have the TB Naturals as well. I've used
Like
both of them.
a pipette's worth.
Yeah, I use
Like
like
a squirt, a whole squirt. Like, no, this stuff
10
you
drops.
need like a couple drops, and it's like it changes the pH so drastically. Now, that is a function too of your water's ppm. Like that.
Yep. And you should always wait a couple of minutes before you check the pH because it's gonna take a little bit of time to buffer. Even if it changes instantly, it's gonna
Yeah.
change more within 5 minutes or so.
For sure. Now, like,
Don't use vinegar. I just saw somebody.
don't
yeah.
use vinegar.
No.
Yeah, don't use vinegar. I mean, like the citric acid, again, like unless you're working with water that has like 0 parts ppm or less than like 50, citric acid is not going to affect it much at all. Like, you're going to need a lot of it for it to really move the needle. You know what I mean?
For pH up, I use the Balance from Athena. It's a silica-based pH up, which is something you'd be adding to the plants
you'd
anyway.
be adding anyway.
The only downfall to silica-based pH ups is you should really be adding them first before you mix your newts. So you have to have an idea how much to use. So the first time you don't add it first. It's impossible. You add it last. You just have to mix it really slowly because if you mix it too quickly last, you can drop your newts out of solution and fuck everything up. But for pH down, I use the GH orange shit.
Do you? Yeah, you still use that?
It's cheap and it just works. You may have got a bad bottle because it's pretty potent stuff.
Yeah,
I actually
maybe-
water it down. So I have like a 20-ounce like soda bottle, and I half and half it, like half of that stuff, half water, because I find it's too strong.
You know, maybe mine lost its strength over time and just
It's possible.
couldn't work, man. But
I find their pH up useless. The GH blue stuff, I find it almost borderline useless.
So you got to use
I
the.
never have to use pH up.
Yeah,
ever,
that I've
ever.
never had to use the blue. That's exactly right. Like never,
Never.
because maybe it's just because we live in similar. You know, we live close by, so our water's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have, if you're struggling with pH down, guys, check out the pH Boys pH down. Like, the stuff is super potent. You need like 2 drops, and even if you have like nasty like Arizona well water and it's like 500 ppm and 150 of that is like sodium and shit, it'll still move the needle pretty effectively.
I'd be interested to try the Microbe Life pH up and down.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, true. I forgot they had one. I should have mentioned them first. Y'all go use that code.
I know, we
that
got a
sweet
code that's
sweet
so
coupon
exciting.
code.
Yay, money off
It
for
is.
you guys.
It is. And I think it's, again, I could be wrong, but I don't think I've seen a single other Microbe Life Hydro coupon code.
I don't believe so.
Because they don't have an affiliate program. It's not like that. We don't give a fuck. We just want to save you guys money. So the code is CCMLH15.
Mm-hmm.
Save 15%. So
Photo Plus, the Terps Plus.
yes. And speaking of which, what a great segue. And look at that. We're like an hour and 10 minutes in anyway. So fucking time flies.
Sure does.
We have some awesome giveaways coming.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good. Do you have them? You have them handy, G3? You know what they are?
Yeah, I do have.
Yeah.
Well, kind of. Give me a second. All right.
Definitely getting Terps
Almost.
Plus. You're definitely getting. I think it's like the whole kit.
We have
There's
a
at least one
bunch.
grand prize winner and then a bunch of other like small winners. And now I'm thinking, honestly, I know we said we would do like just a Instagram giveaway, but why don't we do it through Discord?
I was going to do it kind of through both. That we
We
were going
could
to start
give
it on
away a couple-
Instagram.
We'll
and
just
we could do
we'll give
both.
away a couple
There's
of
a
like
whole bunch.
why,
So
just
we
save
have
a few of those Terps Plus jars and we'll give away a few of those just on Discord.
Okay, so the grand like spiel of everything that we will somehow get in the hands of you guys in the very near future, or some of you guys in the future. A grand prize of Photo Plus Nourish Root Dip Veg Fruit Yield Enhancer and Terps Plus in gallon sizes.
Whoa.
3 sets of the same product above in 32 ounces. And
Whoa, whoa,
10
whoa.
winners of a sample kit of 4 ounces of Terps Plus. Holy shit.
That's a lot. So
Damn,
we got,
son.
do you know how big a gallon jug is? Like, because, I mean,
It's about a gallon.
it's a
I
milk.
can show you. I have a gallon of Photo Plus over here.
It's not orange juice.
That's
It's
big.
milk.
128 ounces.
It's a heavy jug. The box that shit comes in, gonna be heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So huge thanks to Microblade
Yeah.
Hydro. Like we
For sure.
love their products so much. We all use them and adore them and wouldn't grow without them. So hopefully
yeah.
you guys like them too.
Please go listen to the episode we did with Brett and really some great info. We will have him back on. Well, the scientist. I was talking to him about that. I know people were interested in that, like
Yeah, his
super
Scott.
dorky stuff, science that we can't tell you. So,
Mm-hmm.
yo, what's up, Mac?
Let's talk more about glutamate pathways.
We can't, but the scientist that he brings on certainly can, and that's what I'm looking forward to. It's like
Absolutely.
all I can do is kind of like stare at him with like wide mouth, like that sounds cool. So yeah, we'll get that all set up, guys. Keep an eye out for the post, and Monster had a Patreon bean drop, all that good stuff going on. So, guys, come support us on Patreon. Help us keep the show going. If you don't feel like doing that, come hang out with us on Discord. And just that's
Come hang
that's
out with
always
us on
free.
Discord anyway.
Yeah, you don't need Patreons or not. You're all welcome. It's a party. 24-hour AOL chat room. That's what I liken it to. So, but yeah. Anything else we have like show keeping wise?
Just in case you missed it, we are moving this live show back to its original day of Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard
Yes. We're going back to the Tuesday night shuffle.
If the Discord link isn't working, I'm not sure why.
No, it's not.
Mm,
Well, dude,
It should
Kevy
work.
boy, you got our Instagram? Any of us? Hit us up on Instagram. We'll send you we'll spoon feed you that Discord link. And that goes for anyone else out there. I'll like mama bird that shit for you. Chew it up first and spit it right back in your mouth.
Ugh.
That's maybe not. But yeah, we will help you guys out. We're here to help. So yeah, thank you guys. You, Monster, G3, happy
A pleasure
Valentine's
as always,
Day.
sir. Thank you. Oh yes, happy fake Hallmark holiday.
Did you at least get some chocolates? And...
when I click on that link, it works. So
Yeah,
I'm going
okay.
to claim operator error on whoever said it didn't work.
You can't click a damn link right, son. What can you do?
Copy and paste the link and put it into a different browser. I don't know.
Well, I want to thank the both of you for taking time out of your Hallmark holiday, even if it is that, but it's still taking time out of your night to come
my
hang
wife
with me.
remembered that last Valentine's Day we took off. And she said to me, "Oh, I thought you weren't doing a show this week because last year you didn't."
Okay,
So,
I took off last Valentine's.
no, well, we all did. Like we
Oh.
didn't do. We decided not to do a show on Valentine's Day. It must have been on a Tuesday last year.
Ah. Well,
Our love for the plant is too great. We couldn't stay away.
you stole the words right out of my mouth.
I didn't even think about not doing a show.
End
Kinda
of
stupid.
the
I kind of hate
community.
Valentine's Day.
All the people that listen in live, man, you guys rock. Everyone. I see a lot of new faces, so some shout outs. Fighting Do Evil, Kevy Boy 420, Porkaholic. I've mentioned you before. You're funny as shit. The Real Mac Attack. Welcome back,
Mac,
brother.
we love you.
Yeah, man. For real. Green Velvet, Michael A. Yeah, guys, tell a friend, please. If you have a grower friend or even someone you want to get into growing, tell them about our show. That's, we like to grow the organic way. Word
We
of
want
mouth.
growers and showers.
No dick pics, though, guys. Just knock that shit off. Really, I know G3's had enough.
Everybody is very respectful,
And
and I
if you're
appreciate that very much.
Gonna send me one, like, you better be thinking about composition and lighting.
Filters
and
make
all
a
that
difference,
shit.
people. Filters make
I
a
want
difference.
I want some fruit and like a gourd in the shot.
A gourd.
What the fuck?
There's
Gourd.
it's like a still life with like one of those, what do they call it? What do they call them? A cornucopia with a bunch of like there's like a small pumpkin and an apple, and then oh my god, that's a man's penis. What is that?
Dark mind of Captain.
There's a penis next to the gourd. Why? Oh my god.
You're gonna get flooded with inappropriate pumpkin pictures.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just don't. Send me your pictures of your wife's gourds if you want to go down that route. Don't do that, guys.
No, don't do that.
Just what you can do, and I know you're all really good at this. Until the next time we talk, don't get caught.